Hello, everybody. This is Taj McCameron, and we're back for the ministry page. And because I have this on my mind, I've just been in a headspace the past few hours, and I was kind of thinking that the headspace I was in was bad. But this morning, I was sitting in my moment of time with the Lord, and as I was working these things out internally with myself in my irritation, I literally came up with an entire program. It's going to be applied to what I'm working on at this particular point, but I think it's relevant. And because it's relevant, and it seemed very aligned because the next article I picked up that I was going to discuss today was literally right in alignment with my place in my headspace. Okay. So we're going to walk through this, and I'm going to go through the multiple segments and just express what I'm feeling as well, because I can't help you transform if I'm not expressing where I am. Okay. So what are we talking about? The strong, independent woman. The one thing I notice, and this is something that happens, I previously did a video where I talked about women. The woman was like, I'm not going to do this for this man. I'm not going to do that. I'm going to do that. Blah, blah, blah. It's not because she was lazy. She had a strength about her and an independence about her that she wanted a man that she was not going to be doing it all for him because he wanted to take advantage of what she carried. The issue that a lot of women face is we want to be the strong, independent, I can do bad all by myself and end up by ourselves. Am I preaching? Am I talking? People, especially of the melanated criteria, have a tendency to be this way. Am I wrong? Are we discussing this? Okay. Black women have, from the beginning of time, had to carry themselves in a certain way. Either they were concubines in Egypt, they were looked upon as you could be married, but you could not speak. Even today, in places like the Arab countries, women don't really have the ability to speak out the way that they desire in these cultures, countries, and their belief systems. As time went on, you read the Bible and they talk about women, and men love to throw in people's faces, oh, women shouldn't preach, women shouldn't preach. You go back into the scriptures and take the context in which the speaker was speaking. It was not that women couldn't preach. It was the fact that the women in the church at the time in which he was speaking were disrespecting the men that were trying to speak at the time, and he was literally saying, do not speak over that, okay? Because they would not stop talking. Now, with that being said, we as women are talkers. We talk. We process through talking. Some of us process with our hands, some of us process through writing, some of us process through talking. We have the ability that we have to go through and formulate. The reason that Eve ended up in trouble was she was trying to do what? Gain knowledge outside of the Lord's desired will. There's a whole word right there. Because she needed to know information. It was the knowledge. That tree carried the knowledge of good and evil. The issue with women is this. It's not that we're bad. It's not that being strong-minded is wrong. If you're going to be a woman in business, you have to have a strong mind because you must carry yourself in a certain way. I'm going to tell you this story. I was a young woman that she was in a relationship with a man. They'd been in a relationship for 2 to 3 years. In that relationship, she was very docile, very quiet, very peaceful. But she was a lawyer. In her being a lawyer, she had a tendency that when she was in her law format, she had to be strong-minded. She had to be bold. She had to be courageous. She had to be to the point. She had to be authoritative. She had to be a very specific way. Okay? I sometimes find myself feeling like I'm a lawyer, the way that I dictate, write things down, and can, what's the word? Dissect an argument. That's what makes me a great teacher, because I can dissect a problem from top to bottom. Even if you saw my prayer requests, they are dissected from top to bottom. Whatever the issue is, what's wrong, what needs to be fixed, how it needs to be fixed, so on and so forth. Because I dissect a problem from top to bottom. Now, getting back to her story. She had a situation where the guy she was dating needed her legal advice. So in order for the legal situation to be taken care of, he reached out to her thinking that she would be a good asset to him to be able to get this thing taken care of. They had a conference call. She ran the conference call at her firm. She explained everything. She ran the room. She did what she did best in that space. She showed him the side of herself that she hid in being in the relationship, and he became in turn intimidated by it. As soon as the case was over, he dumped her. And I'm going to caveat here. We as women, sometimes we show what we think the man desires to see. And I'm going to use this example. I was watching a rerun of one of my favorite TV shows the other day. It was sometime last week, the episode reran. And in it, the main character had dated or was dating this guy she was highly interested in. He was highly interested in her. But she felt like she was too authoritative, too much of a fighter, too much of a bold person. So what she decided to do is she was like, well, when she saw the guy that she was interested in talking to the ditzy, nice, cavalier, whatever type chick that, looks good and all that, she looked at the situation like, well, I'm not that girl. And due to the fact that she just saw him smiling kindly at the woman, mostly because he was waiting on her, but he was being kind and casual to this woman. But she saw him and thought, well, maybe he likes that better. So what she did was she did a little bit of research into his past. And when she did a little bit of research into his past, she came to find out that the type of women that he knew at the time were a particular way. So she decided to, on Halloween, play a game where she dressed up like that said woman. Something happened and it caused the act to become more realistic than it was meant to. And when he ran into her during the midst of the situation, she was acting like that woman. And it left him in a position where he had to constantly keep an eye on her. And she was ditzy, she was all kinds of, she was nothing like herself. When the situation blew over and everybody was back to normal, he ended up sitting down and having a conversation with her, and he said, "What was that?" And she said, "Well, I thought that's the kind of girl that you liked because I did some research." He's like, "No, I hated women like that. They were bubble-brained nitwits. I hated women like that." What am I saying? If a man desires to be with you, he's going to want to know you. Because what happens is that you created a false narrative as to what type of person you were. So when they see the fullness of who you are, they can't handle it. And then you see your relationship fall apart and you're wondering, what just happened? The reason in scenario 2, the woman ended up acting like what she thought was because she saw what he was used to and tried to conform to that. But the reason he was with her was nothing involving that. It was her personality. The way she was and everything about her drew him to her as she was. The reason scenario 1 didn't work was because she never showed the fullness of who she was. She thought that when she got the opportunity to show the fullness of herself outside of what he was used to seeing, that was going to impress him. In fact, it intimidated him because he saw more strength in her than he thought. And it emasculated him. And to him, he backed out. What am I trying to say? If you are a strong woman, don't ever dull yourself down because you think that's what the guy wants. If you're a strong woman, be strong, but understand you are still a woman. As ethnic women, we have a tendency to feel like I can do bad all by myself. I have to work twice as hard to get half as much. Employment, positioning, whatever it is, we are affected way differently. We got to act different. We got to dress different. If we want the attention in our jobs, we have to dress a particular way. And they're still talking about us because if we dress in a way to gain attention, to at least get your attention on us, but if we don't dress that way, they think we're too butch. If we do dress in a way that's balanced, then they want to flirt with us, and that's not exactly what we came there for. They talking about us behind our backs, and we have this imbalance in the system where it's like, how am I supposed to react to this? And then as minorities, we grew up with mothers, because minorities, depending on what type of minority you are, you have the Indians, that their entire background was stolen from them. Their land was stolen from them. They were killed. They were raped. They went through a whole bunch of things. Their children were assimilated into the population, and they were given a little piece of land over in Vegas for the gambling. It's like, oh, we'll give you this. Then you have the Spanish, Puerto Rican, what have you, descended people. They were assimilated, also had to deal with rape of the women. The men were emasculated. They were all these types of things. You have slavery that for 400 years, 3 to 4 generations, you're seeing generations die out and multi-generations in between. They needed to take the slaves, which had strong minds when they were taken. The slaves fought back then, and people have come to the understanding these were not regular slaves. These actually were kings and queens that were put into the submission underneath of certain government entities, and because of the governments, they were sold to the highest bidder into slavery. Their mindsets were way different, and because of that, they were sold to white men that wanted to break them. So they needed to, for every generation, they were teaching their children, and for everything that they were teaching their children, they had to literally wait till they could eradicate it generationally. They had to lose ability. They had to lose knowledge. They had to lose understanding of certain things. They had to lose the ability to know how to read and understand certain things. They had to stop teaching their children the thought processes because they were literally being beaten out of them. So you end up with the generations that are weak-minded, and you have men that how do I put this? The way that society has treated them or reared them, that they are supposed to either assimilate the same way as the Spanish, the Indians needed to assimilate and become part of what they were being told to become. So with that being said, they developed a certain mindset. And because of that, due to slavery, there was a certain viewpoint on Black women because you had the men that were being used, that were being literally used by the white women for all kinds of sexual desires, but could not honestly open up to telling anybody, because if the white woman told, then the Black men were either used, thereby then turned into rapists and all that kind of stuff, because they couldn't actually tell them the truth. And this is what we've seen generationally if we go back time after time, which breeded weaker men. And then when they couldn't control men that way, they just threw them in jail. And in the process of throwing the men in jail, the women had to become the head of the household, head mindset. And you see the woman having to be the strong-minded person. And because the woman has to be the strong-minded person, they have to run the household, take care of the kids. The children are seeing the woman at home. The children are seeing the woman do the work. The children are seeing the woman, the woman, the woman. All they have as a reference is the woman. So the men have no male in the household to show the male children how to be a man, which breeds weaker men, then you have women that are fully carrying a masculine demeanor about them. And because this is a ministry, I can say this, they are carrying a male dominant spirit, whether it's a Jezebel spirit, whether it's an intimidating spirit, a spirit of it's just a very male oriented spirit. And it also can be connected to pride and Leviathan. Okay. And with that, you have women having a hard time to get into relationships with men, and they end up becoming just like in the previous video that I talked about. What was the name of it? Proverbs 31. Look for Proverbs 31. And the woman is like, I don't have the energy to babysit a man. Because a woman, if you're strong-minded, you're strong-willed, your desire is to be able to, I need, and here comes the point, to be able to trust you. I need to be able to build on a foundation with you that I can trust, that I can make decisions from. I can build from that point, which allots me the ability to plan, to present myself in a certain way, to prepare, evaluate situations in my household, and then pursue appropriately with the wisdom, guidance, and direction necessary from a person in my household that is going to cover me. But women are not dealing with those issues that they have because they have trust issues. They don't trust a man because the men are weak-minded, weak in spirit. They're not carrying themselves correctly. Their boldness is off. They're not operating in confidence in the way in which they should. And it's affecting the either how the women are attracted to them. I literally heard or was looking at something and they were talking about Will Smith, and they were like, oh, he's so weak of a man and blah, 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 blah. And I'm sitting there like, some women actually desire a man that is kind, peaceable, peaceful type person. But it's finding the right alignment for you. But it all starts with understanding trust. Black women and minority women have trust issues. Why? Because they had father figures that were either absent or aggressive or what have you. So they are, in turn, I can do bad all by myself because the men in their life were not taking care of them. So they don't see men as a person that can provide for them. But men were raised to be providers. Men were raised to take care of the household. The women in the household, the mothers, what they would do if they did not have a man, they would put the weight on their sons to be the one to take care of the household, and they look to take care of the household. But it's almost like when the woman didn't have a man, she created a type of relationship with her sons. Thank you, Jesus. I hear you. I hear the ringing. Her sons that was it's loving, it's caring, but it's at a distance because it's almost like they were treating their sons like they're men. I gotta rear you, I gotta raise you, but I'm also treating you like you gotta take care of me. As soon as they become a certain age and they see that the child is old enough, it's almost like you're taking care of me. And they're putting the weight on their sons, talking to their sons about things that they shouldn't be talking to their sons about, and all this type of stuff that is inappropriate. And it cripples the man, because then he looks at women in a specific mindset, and the young daughters see their mothers acting a certain way, whether it be towards their brothers, towards their men, meaning if they have a man coming in and out of the house or what have you, they see how they treat them, meaning if they're the strong-willed woman, 9 times out of 10, the man is not staying in the house. 9 times out of 10, they may be seeing alternating doors of men, so they don't treat men appropriate. That's how you end up with your Olivia Popes, which was, I'm strong, I'm powerful, I'm this, I'm that, but I don't need a man in my life. I want him for this one reason, but I don't want him in my life. So you end up with women that are taking on a role as a male, and then when they want a man, the men that they end up finding are lazier men that want to be nurtured and taken care of, because of the fact that she's strong, she's powerful. Okay, I'm either going to be lazy and not, or I'm going to be, she's not going to be somebody that they're willing to be with, meaning they will gaslight them, love bomb them, do all these types of things, sleep around with them, but they will never marry them because they're too strong. And the thing that has been my issue for years has been that part of me that I'm kind, I'm nice, I'm all of this. But I've come to a place in my life where I'm like, in my next relationship, I gotta be me. I gotta be myself. I gotta talk. I gotta tell you who I am. Because if I start from the right foundation with you, with the strength that I carry, then we can grow on the proper foundation. But I expect the same from you. And that's the way we need to operate, because I feel like I need to be bold and courageous, and I need a man in my life that respects me for being bold and courageous. But I can't sit up there and be my nice, kind, sweet self and suppress who I am underneath of that. Yes, we must be submissive women. Yes, we must be wives that are kind, and we must submit, because we must allow the man to be the man in the house. But we have to be able to balance understanding who we are. We must be able to be feminine. We must be able to love and be caring. But we also must have a balance where the man can see that he's safe too. Meaning she's feminine, but I know that if I take her in a business room, she can take off. He knows he's good either way. But he needs to be able to see that. And what happens with women is either we're all in on that masculine, bold, strong, independent woman, feminist, or we're all the way meek, little, quiet. We need to come in showing both sides and being able to manage both sides, not too much to the left, not too much to the right. I've been in a season with myself lately where I've been trying to deal with the scripture that talks about being as, I believe it's as smart as a serpent, but as wise as a serpent, and as meek as a dove or something like that. I have to look up the exact scripture. But being able to carry the wisdom to know I must be meek and calm with the person that I'm with, to be submissive as a wife, but to be strong as I need to be, and bold and confident in the rooms and the realms and in the business aspect in which, and acumen in which I desire to go in. But we must deal with our own issues. What type of parents did we have? What type of mom did we have? Maybe you had the strong, independent mom. And 9 times out of 10, strong, independent mom was married to the father that didn't pay you any attention. So you're dealing with emotional issues from not having, not so much that he was an absentee father, but a father that was more authoritative and non-affectionate. Then you have the flip side where you have the non-affectionate mother and the meeker, calmer, docile father, which leaves the male in the house that way. And so, and then the females are feeling that the men are weak. And then if you had, with the flip, when you had the man that was overly powerful and strong, then the woman becomes the I'm going to be strong, all powerful, da da da. So it can affect both ways. Because they don't want to ever feel that way from a man. So when you have that strong, powerful father figure, they don't feel like they can trust him. Because they were being pushed away by them or what have you. But in closing, you really have to deal with these emotions, heal from these things, and walk in clarity so that you can attract the right men into your life. Because otherwise, you're going to be bouncing between the two. And a double minded man is unstable in all of his ways. You need to become and understand the authenticity of who you are and understand how to balance yourself. Once you are spiritually balanced, mentally, emotionally, physically, and spiritually, it affects every other area. So, this is Taj McCameron for the ministry. Much love, faith, peace, and blessings. Until next time, bye bye.